On Bottom Line viewers, it's Mitch here. Sick or not, I'm here to make some picks for week number 6 of the NFL season, 2019 NFL season. Last week, pretty interesting week from a picking perspective for myself, because actually for the first time, I believe the first time this season, I was better in my picks versus the spread than I was straight up. Let's take a look at that record. I'm 50, 26, and 1 straight up. 42 and 36 versus the spread. Last week, I went 10 and 5 versus the spread, so over double the wins to the losses, and I went 9 and 6 straight up. There were a lot of very close games last week. There were a lot of games where it was kind of hedging your bets. So this week, I see there's a lot of close lines. There's a lot of -1s, -2s, -2.5s. There's a lot of games that are expected to be very close, and actually a couple lines that are pretty surprising from a matchup standpoint. When you look at the New Orleans Saints and the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Seattle Seahawks, the Cleveland Browns, you look at Carolina Panthers and a Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there's a lot of surprising lines, even in terms of who is favored in what game. So, guys, make sure you Gronk spike the like button. Subscribe to the Bottom Line View if you haven't already for NFL picks every single week here on Wednesday night. You can watch me live. And if you're not live, of course, comment below in the comment section what your picks are, any questions you have for me regarding my picks, and, challenge my picks. Let me know why I'm wrong with some of my picks in the comment section below. I am live right now. Let's get that live chat popping. And, of course, about every 3 games or so, I will get to the live comments and, answer your questions. So, let's get to the first game, which is the Thursday night football game of the New York Giants versus the New England Patriots. The Patriots are favored by 17 points. Another game, another week, another big spread for the New England Patriots. In this game, I believe that the Patriots will win. I believe they will win handily. When you take a look at the Giants, they're very banged up offensively. Not only do they not have the best running back in football, they don't have their number 1 receiver in Sterling Shepard. They have a number of guys that are banged up just on their offense. I believe their number 1 target's going to be Golden Tate. And Wayne Gallman is even out, who's their backup running back. So they're running with a guy who didn't even start on his own college team at running back. Daniel Jones, Mr. Danny Dimes, is going to have a lot to deal with in this game. And he's playing the best defense in all of football in their building. The Patriots, they're not going to take it easy on Danny Dimes. I could see the Patriots absolutely dominating that side of the ball, which would lead to just a blowout. And then you look at the Giants from a defensive perspective, they're one of the worst in the league. The Patriots showed that they want to run the ball a little bit more last week versus the Redskins. Sony Michel should see a lot of carries in this game, possibly 1 or 2 touchdowns. I think he'll have another big game this week. And then through the air, the Giants have not been very good defensively. I think you will see another good game from Edelman, who had his best game of the season last week. Josh Gordon should be in there. Maybe a little bit of Jacoby Myers, as Philip Dorsett is out with an injury. And from a tight end perspective, they let go of Ben Watson. So I want to see if Matt LaCosse can really find this to be his role, or if they're going to have to make a move at that position. But when it comes to Tom Brady and the offense, they should be able to score points. When looking at a score, I'm probably going to say something like 34-6 for the Patriots. I don't think it's going to be very close. So I have the Patriots winning, I have the Patriots covering, and yet another dominant performance from the Patriots defense. All right, so that's game number 1. Keep those comments coming. Keep those likes going up. Gronk spike the like button. Game number 2. This is a game in London. Panthers, Bucks. Last time these two teams played, it was in Tampa Bay, and from what I remember, there was some issues with... Was it in Tampa Bay? Actually, I don't quite remember if it was in Tampa Bay or Carolina. But there was thunderstorms, and it actually halted the game. And this was Cam Newton in this game. So a lot has changed even since the last time these two teams played. This was earlier in the season, And if you remember that correctly, the Panthers were on like the 1 yard line. They were inside the 5 yard line to score and to beat the Bucs, but they weren't able to do so. Christian McCaffrey went out at the 1 yard line, wasn't able to reach the ball across the line, and they ended up losing. There was also a couple 4th down conversions that the Bucs were able to stop the Panthers. And really, this was a game of sort of a shocker to show that the Bucs are a legitimate team right now in the NFL. The Panthers are favored by 2 points. Both teams, I think, have similar makeups in terms of their defense. I think both teams are strong up front, stronger up front than they are in the back end. Both teams have very good linebacker play. I would give the advantage to Carolina in that department. But then you look at a guy like Shaq Barrett, who's a pass rusher, who's just turned in his best season so far of his NFL career and continues to be dominant, even though he wasn't dominant last week versus the Saints. But I think that has more to do with the Saints' offense, their scheme, their offensive line, than it does with Barrett and the Bucs' defense. It's tough because I don't typically like picking teams to sweep a season series, and I have liked what I've seen from Kyle Allen. But when I think back to that game, of that Carolina game versus the Bucs, I think back to a Bucs secondary that I never thought was good. I never thought was legit in any fashion or form, but they dominated the Panthers receivers. The Panthers receivers were not able to get separation versus man-to-man coverage. I thought that they had a really good defensive game plan in that game. And Cam Newton, Kyle Allen, I don't know if it matters. And I understand McCaffrey is playing out of his mind. This was the worst game he played all season versus these Bucs. I am going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win, and obviously I will take the 2 points. They are at home, or at least they're the home team in London. Both teams have veteran coaching staffs, so I don't think it's really going to be too much of an advantage either way in terms of preparing for the London atmosphere. I think Jameis Winston, that offense with Godwin and Evans, they have a little bit more in terms of explosive factor right now than the Panthers offense does, even though, again, I like what I've seen from Kyle Allen, and I keep thinking back to the Panthers have these offensive line issues, they have these offensive line injuries. Are they going to be able to block up front versus the Bucs front, which has been impressive so far this year? So I am going to go with the Bucs, even though this game should be really, really close, and I would not be shocked at all if the Panthers did win this game, but at the end of the day, I am going to go with the Bucs because I think this line is a little bit sleeping on Tampa Bay as they just lost to the Saints. I mean, the week before, they beat the Rams pretty handily in that game. Last week, they lost to the best team in the NFC by 1 touchdown. The Panthers, they've been playing a little bit easier competition, and I think maybe they're a little bit overhyped here with being favored in this game, but that's just my opinion. All right, the third game is the Baltimore Ravens hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. The Ravens are favored by 11 points over their AFC North rival. The Bengals, I will say, their offense looks horrible. Their offensive line is bad. I really don't see any of these targets having good games versus Baltimore, even though Baltimore's defense has been susceptible to the pass, especially with spread formations. And maybe we could see some scheming done by Zach Taylor that allows like Tyler Boyd and some of these Auden Tate to have good games. I just don't see it. I think the Bengals won't be able to run the ball. I think the Ravens, they're slow up front, but they're powerful, they're strong, they're tough, and they will be able to shut that run game down, forcing Andy Dalton into bad situations. I think they have enough to take away Tyler Boyd. There's not many other targets there to really go to. I mean, Eifert is the ghost of himself, and Tate is a 4th string receiver. So for me, I just don't know how the Bengals are consistently going to move the ball in this game. And when I look at Baltimore and that side of the ball, Lamar Jackson's dynamic. I think the box score didn't quite show how he played in that game versus Pittsburgh. It says he threw 3 interceptions. 2 of them weren't really his fault. I think that the Baltimore Ravens will win this game. I'm not sure they'll cover the 11, though. I'm kind of thinking of this in my mind because I've been in bed all day because I've been sick today and yesterday, so I'm kind of doing this on the fly. But I believe that Baltimore will win this game quite handily, so I will say that they also cover the game. I just think from an offensive perspective, when you look at Mark Andrews versus this linebacking core, this safety situation that the Bengals have, that's a clear advantage for the Ravens. I don't know if they have anyone that can cover the deep ball of Marquise Brown. I think the Bengals are probably going to be susceptible to the Ravens' running game, and we've seen Lamar Jackson just be so dynamic as a runner and a passer. So I'm going to put my money here on the Ravens to win and to cover. I think they do need a game here where they've snuck by the Steelers a little bit. This game is at home. Ravens, Baltimore, a tougher place to play than a lot of people think. I think that they just need a game where they do blow somebody out, because it's been a couple of games where they've really not been able to do that. So I think they need a game here where they do blow somebody out. And the Bengals, I think many would argue, are the second worst team in football, and I think everything's falling apart and going in the opposite direction than they want it to. So I'm going with the Ravens to win and to cover. Fourth game, and then I will get to the comments. The Seattle Seahawks take on the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Seahawks are favored by 1 point. Cleveland coming off an absolutely disastrous performance versus the 49ers. They played horrible. They were out-coached. They were outplayed. They were out-hit. They were out-physicaled. They were out everything. And they are now hosting the Seattle Seahawks, the 4-1 Seahawks. And Russell Wilson is in an MVP form. I'm going with the Seahawks here. I am actually quite puzzled as to why this is only -1. Maybe you guys can let me know why the Seahawks are only favored by 1 point. Maybe the Browns have played better at home. They did have a nice performance versus Baltimore. Maybe the Browns are able to get something going through the air in this game, as the Seahawks secondary is not the greatest. And maybe the Browns are getting healthier in the secondary. That could possibly happen as well. I think I look at what the 49ers did on the ground, and I think the Seahawks, even though they're not as creative through their running game, like Kyle Shanahan is something else, I think Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, they'll have success running the ball. And I think in that way, it will keep the Browns' pass rush from getting after Russell Wilson, allowing Russell Wilson to make some big plays down the field. And if those corners are still out in this game, who's going to cover Tyler Lockett? Who's balling? Who's going to cover Metcalf? I think Disley will have a good game. So I think the Seahawks can score. I think they've proven they can score. And I don't know if the Browns can. I know that Nick Chubb is playing well, but who else is? I mean, they can't get the ball to Odell because their offensive line can't block. Baker Mayfield looks horrendous. And this, to me, is a case of the public likes to bet on the Browns. That's why the spread isn't bigger to me. That's what it seems like to me. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe I'm underestimating the dog pound. But I just think the Seahawks are the much better team here. I have not liked what I've seen from Baker Mayfield. I've not liked what I've seen from that offensive line. I can't trust that they're going to score over 20 points, and I think the Seahawks will. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks to win this game. I'm going to say it's going to be 27-17 for the Seahawks. I think it's going to be a pretty easy victory, and I think the Browns will stick around early, but then I think ultimately that Seahawks running game will be able to win it for the Seahawks. And it's not like I'm really worried about the Seahawks going on the road to the dog pound. I mean, they have Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. They're a veteran squad. I don't really think I'm worried about that travel. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks. Let's go to the comments now. From the Seahawks, from Seattle and Cleveland, to the comments. Guys, if you haven't already, I see we have close to 40 people in the live chat. Thank you for joining me here. Make sure you Gronk spike the like button. If you are new, make sure you do subscribe. Just always have to remind you of that. And one big thing I do need to remind you of is that if you are subscribed and you don't already have that right now, hit the notification bell, because the notification bell, it gives you the latest updates. You are notified as soon as one of my videos drops. That is absolutely huge if you want to get the latest content from the Bottom Line View and from myself. Okay, let's start off with Tyree. He says, I'm excited. Let's go. Stacy says, missed the last few weeks, but I'm here now. Thank you for joining me, Stacy. Thank you for joining me, Tyree. Sebastian says, hi. The Bears pissed me off last Sunday. Yeah, that was a difficult performance to take in as a Bears fan. They were physically dominated. A lot to say about the Raiders, though. I feel like the Raiders have been impressive. Deshaun Drakeford says Seattle over Cleveland by 13 points. There you go. So Sean definitely agrees with me. He says Tampa will beat Carolina 27-20, so he also agrees with me there. Tyree says Patriots 45-9. Kevin Durkant says Giants win 24-19. Stunner upset. Go Giants. Sebastian says give me the upset. New York over the Pats 20-17. Guys, this isn't 2007. This is not 2011. The Giants will not win, and I will absolutely guarantee that even if Tom Brady gets injured on the first play of the game, the Patriots will win this game. Colin says Pats 48-17. Deshaun says 27-23 Giants win. 5-1 New England's record after this game. A lot of people on the Giants. I'm sure they're willing to actually bet money on that. Trill says Daniel Jones is going to get killed. The Buccaneers 35-17. Sebastian says so. Not a lot of people are on the Panthers. Chris says get them likes up. Chris is right. Trill says Bucks are not going to put up anywhere close to 35 points on this defense. Responding to Sebastian's comment, yeah, I think it will be in the 20s. Stacy says I'll take the Panthers in a close one. Entertaining start to Sunday, 24-20. Good score. Kevin Durkant says, Mitch, should I take this trade? Aaron Jones, T.Y. Hilton, Travis Kelce for Tyreek Hill, Evan Ingram, Connor, and Kenny Golladay. I would say it depends on your strength at running back. Because if you are willing to trade Aaron Jones, I think it's a good trade for you. Because I do feel like Tyreek Hill's better than Hilton. Kenny Golladay is just as good as Hilton is. So you're getting two good receivers there that are arguably already better than the guy you're giving up. Ingram is playing just as well as Kelce right now. And if he can stay healthy, he will be the number one target in that passing game. So Kelce's elite, but so is Ingram right now. Aaron Jones is the best player on that side. He's a lot better than Connor is. Like, I wouldn't want to have Connor on my fantasy team, but if you do have the depth that allows you to do that trade, I wouldn't mind doing that trade. Chris says, Panthers by 4. 100-0 Ravens over Bengals, says Sebastian. Stacy says, give me the Ravens to cover 35-17. Chris has 28-14 Ravens. AFC North is the worst division in football, says One Pride. People think Ravens are shutting down the Bengals, and honestly, Bengals always play the Ravens well. They kind of have their number still. I'm going to go with the Ravens, but this game will be close. All right. Seahawks by 12. A couple people. Browns struggle. Continues, says Stacy. I would say the Dolphins and Redskins are probably the worst two teams. I don't know. Are the Bengals worse than the Redskins? The Fire Chiefs video, Kevin Durkant, is coming soon. It's coming soon. I'm hopefully tomorrow or the next day. It will come out this week. I've literally been in my bed sleeping for most of the last 2 days. So, yeah, sorry about that. All right. Where are we at here? Let's see. Let's get back to the picks. What is this? That's Seahawks Browns. I think I just finished that one. Saints, Jags. Saints, okay, believe it or not, the Jacksonville Jags are -1. They are favored in this game. I'm going to go with the Saints because I think the Saints are the better football team. I don't know what Vegas is smoking here. I think this is maybe it's a sucker bet. Who knows? I think the Saints are better. I think the Saints will stop the run because they're very good at that. I don't think Leonard Fournette will be able to get much going there. I think you could put a guy like Lattimore on DJ Chark. I think you look at the other side of the ball, and sure, the Jags defense is pretty good. It's not dominant though, and the Saints offensive line is maybe the best in the league right now, so they can surely protect from the Jags pass rush. And Teddy Bridgewater looked his best this season last week. Alvin Kamara, that's going to be a matchup issue for whoever they put on him, especially in zone coverage. And you think about if the Jags are going to play heavy zone, Sean Payton has 1,002 plays that he can draw up and figure out the Jags' zone defense, and that will make it easy on Teddy Bridgewater. And that game for him. I mean, he's just going to be able to dink and dunk and be able to pick up easy yardage with wide open receivers versus zone coverage. Michael Thomas seems like he is unguardable right now, and Jared Cook's getting a little bit more involved. I just like everything I've seen from the Saints. Maybe they're due for a down game. I just can't say that I'm going to pick the Jags, even if they're at home, over a team like the Saints, who I think is the best in their conference right now. Drew Brees or not, I'm going with the Saints. All right. Next game, Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are -5 points. I do believe the Chiefs will win this game. I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm not sure they'll cover, though. Last week I said they would win versus the Colts, and I was wrong. I did have the Colts covering, and it was a way too big of a spread. I think it depends on injuries. I want to see if Tyreek Hill's playing. I want to see if Sammy Watkins is playing, so I might have to change my pick altogether. For now, I'm going to say that Tyreek Hill does play, and I'm going to say that the Chiefs bounce back big. I'm going to say they win and they cover the 5. I think that the Texans will be in this game, but I think it will be a high-scoring game where the Chiefs probably win by like a touchdown. So I'm going to say overall the Chiefs do win this game and they do cover. I think it's going to be a nice showcase of Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. I think we're going to see big plays from both sides. I do want to see if the Texans take a similar approach offensively that the Colts did in terms of running the ball, keeping Mahomes off the field, or will they decide to pass and try to basically outduel Patrick Mahomes in this game? I think that's an interesting question. On the other side of the ball, I don't really know how the Texans are going to be able to cover the Chiefs if they have any close to their repertoire of weapons that they usually have. And maybe Patrick Mahomes is a little beat up, so I have to watch that as well. But I think even Patrick Mahomes within the pocket is still a top 10 quarterback in the league without his ability to move at all. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs. They're at Arrowhead for 2 weeks in a row. I just don't see them losing 2 games in a row at Arrowhead. And I certainly, usually it doesn't happen too often. You see those games where the Chiefs will it will seem like it's going to be a close game, but then all of a sudden they just score their quick strike offense, and I just don't know if the Texans defense will have much resistance versus Kansas City's offense. Even when you look at last week, I think the Texans' success offensively was more due to the fact that Atlanta's defense is straight up horrendous than the fact that they have gotten things clicking. I will say, though, if the Texans are able to block up front the Chiefs, they will definitely have a chance to win this game. And if they are able to give time to Deshaun Watson, they certainly have a chance to win. So I do think I'm going to have to take a closer look at the injury report for this game. But right now, I am siding with the Chiefs to win and to cover. But I might change one or both of those. But I just don't think, especially when it comes to straight up, that the Chiefs can lose 2 in a row in their home building. One of the best home fields in the league. Next game is the Bum Bowl, the Toilet Bowl, between the Washington Redskins and Kevin Durant's Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are not favored. They are plus 3.5 in their home building versus one of the bottom 3 teams in the NFL. And the Redskins, they did show some resistance versus the Patriots in the first half, but they just lost their coach. Jay Gruden is gone. That could rather be great or it could be bad. Who knows? Case Keenum's back at quarterback. I do think that's better than Colt McCoy. I think Scary Terry's back in the lineup. He's healthier now. They don't have a lot of weapons. The Dolphins don't either, though. Literally, I could flip a coin for this game. I am going to say the Redskins win. I think they're better than the Dolphins. I'm going to take the 3.5, though, because I literally do not know who is going to win this game. And the Dolphins are at home, and trust me being a Patriots fan, more than anyone else, I know how tough it could be to win in Miami. So I'm going to take the 3.5 points for the Dolphins. I think this game's going to go down to the wire. So I'm going to take those 3.5 points. The Redskins, I just think, are a little bit more talented, specifically in the front 7 of their defense than the Dolphins are. But, man, this game could go either way. Both of these teams are horrendous. So, yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I think your grandma could pick this and have just as good of a chance of me picking it. So I'm going to go with the Redskins to win, but I'm going to take the Dolphins to cover. I'll take the 3.5 points. Next game is the Eagles at the Vikings. Vikings are favored by 3. This just mostly has to do with the home field advantage that they do have in Minnesota, which is pretty strong. Think back to 2 years ago. This was the NFC Championship game. The game was played in Philadelphia, though. And at the end of the day, when I look at this matchup, I think you have a Vikings offense that wants to run the ball. And everything that they do is based off running the football. They cannot pass when they cannot run. I've seen it week in and week out. When they are not successful with Dalvin Cook, they are not successful with Kirk Cousins. Last week, they were successful with running the ball. They forced the hand of the Giants to stop the run, and then Kirk Cousins had success. Will that happen versus the Eagles? I don't think so. I'm going to take the Eagles to cover and to win this game, even though it's in Minnesota. The biggest reason is because I think the Eagles can stop the run. I think the Eagles will put resources in the box to stop the run. And even though I don't love the Eagles secondary, I don't think that they'll be exposed in the back end because I think the Vikings offensively from their drop back passing game is just too simplistic. They don't do anything that's creative, and it's really a play action rollouts and boots, and that's it. Like, they don't do anything that I would say is creative on that side of the ball outside of their rushing attack, and I don't think that rushing attack is going to be very successful. And then you look on the other side of the ball, and Doug Peterson showed that he's kind of had the upper hand on Zimmer in the past, and I think Carson Wentz, the way he's playing, and they have their weapons there, I think the Vikings defense is good, but I think the Eagles offense can make some plays versus this defense and score some points. So I'm going to say that the Eagles do win this game. I'm going to say they win 24-17 over the Vikings. Even though it's in Minnesota, I have more trust in Carson Wentz than I do Kirk Cousins. I like Doug Peterson over Zimmer. I like their defensive line in a matchup versus the Vikings rushing attack. I think they can keep it so that it's clogged up enough where the Vikings can't totally open up the entirety of their offense. And I think that the Eagles offense will make a few big plays with Zach Ertz, with Alshon Jeffrey, that they'll be able to win this game. All right, one more, and we'll get to the comments. All right, that's not the right one. There we go. Atlanta Falcons take on the Arizona Cardinals. Atlanta is minus 2.5 points. They are on the road traveling to Arizona. Literally next to this game, I wish I could show you my screen right now. I have question marks. I do not have any team that I've picked. I just have a bunch of question marks. Just 6 question marks. Atlanta is minus 2.5. Both of these teams I think suck. I think Atlanta, I finally given up on them in terms of picking them in games. But at the same time, they're playing the Cardinals. So do I pick them this week? That's the question. Atlanta's defense needs to fix so many things. They gave up so many big plays, so many head-scratching flaws in their defensive secondary, so many coverage busts. The Cardinals won last week. Maybe they can continue the momentum. I have not been able to pick Atlanta games all year. So really, I don't know who I should pick. And honestly, whoever I pick here, you should pick the opposite. Something in my mind wants me to say Atlanta because their offense. Because I think they'll score a lot. But the Cardinals, Kyler Murray's good. Arizona, I think they can score too. I'll give Atlanta one more chance. One more chance. I'm going to give you one more chance. I'm not giving you any more chances, though. You're done. If you lose here, I'm done with you, Atlanta. I'm done with you, Ultra. I'm done with you, Falcons. I'm done. All right? I'm picking Atlanta. I don't want to, but I am because I think they'll score. That's basically the analysis I have for you here, is that the Cardinals have no secondary. especially with Patrick Peterson. I think still out. I think he has one more game, or at least I'm not sure actually. Keep me updated on that. I think he has one more game, and I think Julio's due for a big game. Could be this game. I think Devontae Freeman has looked better, and they put up points versus the Texans even though they lost that game, and they were constantly in it because of their offense. I think that will be the case again. They'll score around 30, and I think the Cardinals will score around 27, high 20s. But I think Atlanta will find a way to hold on and win this game because I'm just going to take Matt Ryan, Julio, those playmakers over Arizona, Kyler Murray, and those playmakers. That's really the analysis I have for you. So I'm going to go with Atlanta to win. I guess I'll take them to cover because it's only 2.5 points. It's not a full 3. So I'm going to go with Atlanta to win and to cover. Okay, let's go back to the comments. There has been 2 games in this slate. Redskins Dolphins, Atlanta Cardinals, that I would stay as far away from as humanly possible when it comes to betting, because I do not want to bet on these teams at all. Paul donated a $3.99. I thank you ton for the $3.99, Paul. Thank you very much. Thank you for the support, brother. If you have any questions you have for me, let me know. Deshaun says 30-17 Green Bay on Monday night. We'll get to that game in a little bit. That game might be the game of the week this week. Green Bay versus Detroit. JP says Mahomes bounces back with big numbers this week. I would not disagree with that. Philo, I believe it's Philo, says, I have Mayfield starting quarterback. Who should I start instead? Flacco or Mariota? Oh, yeah, yuck. You know what? I would stick with Baker for one more week there, because I don't think the Seahawks secondary is very good. You got to wait for next week for T.Y. Hilton, because I think he plays the Texans, and whenever he plays the Texans, he has 200 yards. It's almost guaranteed. So start T.Y. Hilton next week in all of your fantasy leagues. Yes, Darnold is back this week. I'm going to be talking about that game in a little bit. Sean says Rams defeat the Niners 30-6. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Saints win 23-14. A lot of people saying Saints. Saints by 6, says Chris. Jay says Saints all day. Sebastian says Saints 24-20. Tyree says Saints. This is interesting that the whole public and you guys and myself, we're all on the Saints. For some reason, Vegas has the Jags favored. I don't know why that is. Kevin Durant, Minshew Magic. I'm going with the upset, 27-24. It's actually not an upset, but in our minds, it's an upset. Sean says 35-30 Chiefs, so that would be actually even on the spread, 5 points. Chiefs 28-21, says Chris. Tyree's going with the Texans. Jonathan is going with the Texans. Larry is going with the Texans in a shootout, 41-37. I'm hoping for a really exciting game. I'm thinking Tyreek Hill will be back. I'm hoping he will be. I just traded for him in fantasy, so I'm hoping he will be. And I'm thinking he will be because he practiced all last week. I saw some video of him. He looked pretty good. The Redskins, to me, maybe a hot take, are not one of the worst teams when fully healthy. They're never fully healthy, though. That's the problem. They are never fully healthy. They are like the Chargers of the NFC. Atlanta fan says Vikes D typically plays a lot better at home. I agree with that. Eagles defense is usually a lot worse on the road. I'll pick the Vikings 23-17. All right. Greek Freak says my 49ers may have a tough time defeating the Lambs with Juice and McGlinchey both injured. Yeah, I'm a little concerned about those injuries for the 49ers. Both tackles are injured, and I've been thinking about that. I'm still not sure who I'm going to pick. Robot Guy says Cardinals. I will never pick Atlanta again. All right, let's get back to the picks. Guys, make sure, if you haven't already, Grok spike the like button. I know it gets annoying, but we got to get those likes up for the success of the channel. I want to remind you to hit the notification bell if you haven't already to get the latest updates, and subscribe to the channel if you're new and you're just watching me for the first time. Make sure you do that. Also, I might as well do this now before we get to the last bit of the picks. Where is the thing here? You can follow me on Twitter. Some people ask me for my Twitter So sometimes they ask me in the comments. I want to give it to you here. That is where you can find kind of my in-game analysis. Just me talking about things that I like. I often tweet about the NFL very frequently. I am a heavy, frequently liker and retweeter of other people that I enjoy across the spectrum of entertainment and NFL and sports in general. I talk about hockey somewhat. I talk about wrestling a little bit. I talk about movies a lot. I give like movie reviews on there too. So if you're interested in me personally and or my takes on football, which if you're subscribed to the channel, you probably are interested in that, make sure you follow me on Twitter. All right. Let's get to the last few games here. What game am I on? So I just finished with the game that I'm never betting on, the Cardinals and the Atlanta Falcons. That's the Cowboys game. What game is this? So that game. So I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers at the LA Rams, a game that I just said I'm still deciding on who I'm going to pick. The biggest reason for this is because the 49ers are now down Kyle Juszczyk, Witherspoon, their corner, which I'm not sure when he's coming back, Joe Staley, their left tackle, Mike McGlinchey, their right tackle. I think if fully healthy, I would have no debate, and I would pick the 49ers 100%. This game is in LA, though, which is where Jared Goff plays a heck of a lot better. The Rams have had extra rest. The 49ers are coming off a short week and a big victory. I do not like the Rams from a secondary perspective. I think, and the Rams are favored by 3.5 here, which shows you that everything is being taken into account from that perspective. McVay with more time to prepare than Shanahan, all the injuries that the 49ers have, the rest that the Rams have been able to get. They probably should have won that game versus the Seahawks, and we're talking differently about them. So I am going to take the Rams to win. Even though I'm a 49ers guy, and I did pick them to win this division, I think this is just a bad spot for them, given all the circumstances. So I'm going to pick the Rams. I will be cheering for the 49ers to win. There's no doubt about it. I will take the 3.5, though, if I'm a 49er fan, because this game is going to go down to the wire. I think it could be a field goal game. So I'm going to take the Rams probably to win it at the end of the game. I think it will be something like 30-27 for the Rams. They, instead of missing that field goal at the end, will get the field goal at the end and end up winning this game. Because really, think about it. If they beat the Seahawks, they're looked at a lot differently. Instead of 3-2, they're 4-1. And they're playing the 49ers, who are 4-0. So the 49ers defense looks fantastic, though. And that is going to be the interesting part. If this game was in San Francisco, I might still go with San Francisco because they're where their defensive line is playing. And they have, they are going to give issues to that Rams offensive line, which has been a little susceptible this season and has not looked as good as it did last year. And I do wonder if the Rams, without that running game, how they'll be able to really, be able to move the ball with consistency. But I do think that they'll be able to pass the ball. And I just have not yet seen the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo be able to pass the ball. I have not seen Garoppolo consistently drop back and throw. And I need that question to be answered for full confidence in this team. I love the 49ers going forward, so I don't want to take that away from them, but I just think this is a bad spot. So I'm going to take the Rams to win, but the 49ers to cover, because I think it will end up being a shootout between two of the best offensive minds in the game. But the 49ers defense, man, they're playing a lot better than the Rams defense. So if you would say the 49ers win, I wouldn't be mad at you. All right. The Tennessee Titans at the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are at home. The Broncos struggled early in this season to really pick up victories. They were able to pick up that victory versus the Chargers last week. When I look at the strengths of the teams, I'm thinking of Flacco's played kind of, decently well. I think not a lot of people are talking about it, but to be honest, Flacco has played pretty well. Emmanuel Sanders has looked good. Courtland Sutton's had his moments. Noah Fant had a couple plays here and there. Phillip Lindsay's played really well. And then you look at their defense, and without Chubb, I think Miller has become more of a focus. Their secondary is good. This is a very well-matched game because I think both teams have very similar strengths, very similar flaws. I think both have strong rushing attacks when they want to do it. I think they have both flaws at quarterback in terms of they can't really give you a full scope. They're not elite quarterbacks. They're nothing more than average, Mariota and Flacco. And then defensively, I think they're strong up front, but they're better in the secondary. This is a tough game because I honestly feel like the Titans should have beat the Bills last week if they had any success with their field goal kicker. But the Broncos, I do feel like they're kind of in that area where they're probably warranted for picking up a few more victories now. And the things that went, bad for them in the first couple of weeks will go good for them in these weeks. And they were impressive versus the Chargers. That is a divisional game. I am going to pick the Broncos. The reason why I'm going to pick the Broncos, even though I'm very skeptical about this pick, so I wouldn't bet this game, is they are at home. I always have a ton of respect for Mile High. I think Joe Flacco has been playing better than Marcus has. I like the secondary of the Broncos, and I like Vic Fangio as a defensive coach. This is a battle between two very good defensive coaches, Fangio and Pease. It's very difficult. I could see this game going either way. I'm totally swap-swapping in my mind, but I'm going to go with the Broncos, mostly because they're at home, and mostly because I like the way Flacco has played compared to Mariota. And I think Emmanuel Sanders, Cortland Sutton are better than the receivers the Titans have. I think Phillip Lindsay is a little bit more explosive than Henry. So I'm going to go with the Broncos. Not very confidently, but I will take the Broncos. All right. Next game. The Dallas Cowboys, favored by 7.5, are going on the road. They are playing Sam Darnold back in the lineup for the New York Jets. And Sam Darnold should give a huge boost to these Jets, who have really needed it desperately. Jamison Crowder should be on the rise in your fantasy leagues. Robbie Anderson should be on the rise, and definitely Le'Veon Bell. When you look at the defense for the Jets, they kind of hung in there a little bit early on versus the Eagles, but then everything just kind of broke out, and the Eagles were able to do what they wanted. The Jets, the one thing they're good at is they're big up front on defense, and I don't think they're really going to get pushed around in the running game with Zeke. But at the same time, there's matchup mismatches there for Gallup and for Cooper in the secondary, which I think Dak will be able to take advantage of. I'm going to say that the Cowboys win this game. I am going to say that the Cowboys also cover because I'm not exactly sure if Sam Darnold is going to be able to pick apart this Dallas defense, a defense that is still very sound, very solid, even though they didn't play their best versus the Packers. I think after a loss, the Cowboys will rebound in this game, in a game that they really do need to win. So I'm going to take the Cowboys here to win and to cover as well. I like that Darnold is back, and I think that's good for fantasy for the Jets offense. I think Le'Veon Bell, will be great down the stretch. I think Jamison Crowder will be great. But I just don't think the Jets are a great team, specifically in their secondary against the pass. And I don't really, truly, 100% believe in Sam Darnold. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys in both. Okay, the Steelers and the Chargers. Steelers, they're a mess. Rudolph, no Rudolph. Juju, I feel bad for him. But I think the Steelers, their defense has played better. They played better versus the Ravens. It wasn't enough. Their defense, I think, still has issues, though, in the secondary. They still give up way too many weird matchups. You'll see plays where Deion Bush is covering, Marquise Brown down the seam. Why does that happen? There'll be mismatches everywhere. And this game, the Steelers are traveling on the road, so they don't have the benefit of playing at home, this defense. The Chargers, they look bad too. I'm I'm going to take the Steelers to cover the game. I'm going to take the 7 points because I don't think the Chargers are very good right now. Their defense is not very good. Their offense is not very good. But I will take the Chargers to win because I think the Chargers, Phillip Rivers will be able to pass versus this secondary that continues to just play poorly. They have bad coaching. I think it's time to get rid of their defensive coordinator, Butler, for the Steelers. It might also be time for Mike Tomlin. I think the Steelers will keep it close, though, as they have in a lot of these games. I just don't think they have enough to beat these teams, specifically with the mismatch at the quarterback position. Mike Williams looked good coming back from the back injury at wide receiver for the Chargers. Keenan Allen is a beast, and he's a mismatch versus any of these corners that play against him in this game. And I just want to see the Chargers run the ball more. I think they need to run the ball more. I think Melvin Gordon needs to be more of a focus of this offense. I think both of their running backs, Eckler and Gordon, they need to start pounding the ball. I'm shocked that they didn't pound the ball last week, considering they played the Broncos, and the Broncos, they allowed 200 yards to Leonard Fournette, and they didn't pound the ball. They refused to. They went down early, and they didn't get back to the run game. I think they need to get to the run game in this game. If they do, and they stay balanced, that will keep pressure off their banged-up offensive line, and I think they will be able to win this game through some Phillip Rivers magic, some Keenan Allen magic, some Mike Williams big plays. I'm going to go with the Chargers winning, but I'm going to take the Steelers to cover because I think their defense, even though they are susceptible to those weird plays in their back end, they're strong up front. They can get pressure on this weak offensive line. And I do think from an offensive perspective, they'll be able to run the ball a little bit, make a couple plays here and there. So I'm going to go with the Chargers to win, but I will take the 7 points because I just don't fully believe in the Chargers. All right, and the Monday Night Football game. The Lions at the Packers, and which is arguably the game of the week. There's a couple other really good games like the Rams and the 49ers, but I like this game a lot, and this game I think could go either way 100%. The Packers are at home in this game. They are favored by 5 in this game. Detroit is coming off the bye, so a little bit more time to prepare, a little bit more time to get rested, get back into it, get some of their injured players back. I'm believing that Amendola on offense will play, and I'm believing that Darius Slay on defense will play. It's not 100% that Davante Adams will play or not. This is a huge factor for whether I believe the Packers can win this game or not. Do they have Davante Adams? Because it's one thing to play the Cowboys, but it's another to play the Lions defense, which is more of a, not really like a do what we do kind of defense the way that the Cowboys is. It's more of a Matt Patricia, New England type defense where it's like, what do they do well? What do we do well? And how can we match up with them the best we can? And for me, when I look at it from a Lions perspective, the best thing they can do here is play man-to-man, especially if Adams isn't there. Get in the face of the Packers receivers. And basically, especially if Adams isn't there, try and get try and force them to get off the line and get open versus tight man-to-man coverage. Contain Rodgers, which they've done very well for the last season or two, where the Lions have won 4 matchups in a row versus the Packers, which is shocking, I know, but that has been the case. So I would say play a very similar game plan that you did versus Mahomes. You just played Mahomes. Rodgers is basically Mahomes before Mahomes. So contain him, send 4, let it get there, and press man-to-man coverage on the outside. Let Slay play on, if Adams is there, put Slay on Adams and maybe double him in certain situations. Put Coleman on Scantling or Allison, and then just play matchup football, man-to-man. And then offensively, I think the Lions need to be balanced, and they are going to be balanced. But I think there's an opportunity for, the Cowboys. I think Stafford is a better passer than Dak is. And I think that what the Lions will see on tape is their ability to take advantage of the Packers secondary with certain matchups, certain schemes, certain plays that the Cowboys were able to late in that game. They weren't able to early on in the game. I am going to pick the upset. I'm going to pick the Lions to win. I'm going to pick the Lions to win and to cover. I know it's kind of crazy, and I was beating myself up for thinking this early because I kind of feel like It's tough to pick against Aaron Rodgers on Monday night at home. But the Lions coming off a bye on the road, which traditionally it's actually been proven that road teams off the bye play better than home teams off the bye because they still have to do the travel, they still have to get ready for the game, and still have to mentally focus for the game instead of staying at home and waiting for the game. And then Matt Stafford is playing really, really well. I would argue he's playing just as good as Rodgers, if not better, this season. They have enough weapons where they have mismatches in certain situations versus the secondary of the Packers. Like, Alexander can play versus Golladay, sure. But then, how are you going to match up on Jones, Hawkinson, Amendola when you want to play those man-to-man situations that the Packers do? And Kerryon Johnson should have some decent success here. So, I actually think that the Lions are a very bad matchup for the Packers. And I think it might come down to the offensive line of the Lions versus the defensive line and the pass rush of the Packers. And we saw that Zadarius Smith was a little banged up. So I'm going to go with the Lions. I know it's kind of a shocker, kind of surprising, but I'm going to go with the Lions. And given their success versus Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in the past 4 matchups, I'm kind of, thinking that you should at the very least take the 5 points. This is one of my favorite bets of the week. But also I feel like the Lions could definitely win. So those are my picks for week number 6 of the NFL season. Those are my bets for week 6 of the NFL season. Before I get back to the comments section, I do want to say my best bets of the week. I want to get into my best bets of the week. So this is something that also you'll have to follow me on Twitter to make sure, even you can even message me, hey Mitch, what are your best bets for this week? And this is something once I open my Patreon, I think I'll feature more specifically on my Patreon for the bets that I like each and every week to help you guys win some money gambling. But you can follow me on Twitter at Mitch Milani. First one, I like the Lions +5. Okay, I talked about it, why I like it. I like the Eagles +3. Quite a bit right now. I like the Seahawks -1, and I like the Saints +1 as well because I think all of those teams can win. I also like the Patriots on Thursday Night Football -17, even though that's a big number. I'm not scared of it because I think the Patriots will dominate that football game. I would stay away from the Broncos and Titans. I would stay away from Atlanta Cardinals. I would stay away from Dolphins, Redskins. I would get more information on the Chiefs and Texans. That would be a closer to game time bet. And I'm really not sure about the Panthers and Bucks. So my favorite games this week are Patriots to win and to cover, the Saints +1, the Eagles +3, the Lions +5, and the Seahawks +1, I think I said already. So, and the Saints +1. So those are my favorite bets of the week. All right, let's get to the comments section, and let's see what everyone's saying. I'm sure that some people are going to be shocked by that Lions pick. All right. Jonathan says, so much hate for my Texans. I'm sorry, man. Jake says, Murray is going to... Okay, I want to say something. Every time I believe in the Texans, they disappoint me. That is why I can't ever believe in the Texans. Jake says Murray is going to have more than a few welcome to the NFL moments and will be running for his life all game. Cardinals will be lucky to score 10. I don't know what you've been watching, but Atlanta's defense is absolutely horrendous. So I don't know where you're getting that from. John Roberts says, get Josh Allen if you don't already have him. He goes up against the Dolphins. He has very good matchups. That's a good tip by John there. Go get Josh Allen in fantasy. John says Chiefs will have a harder time scoring on the Texans. Might be a closer game and lower scoring game than people think. I think it's going to be at least in the 20s, if not the 30s. Andy says McGlinchey, Juice, and Staley out. This is going to be really tough, but we could win. Defense got to carry an offense. Can't have any dumb turnovers, says Andy. Yeah, for sure. 21-17, says John. I don't know what game he's talking about. Bodo says 99% of all Mitch's tweets are about how pretty Tom Brady is and how wonderful it is to be a Patriots fan. That is not correct, Bodo, but, you know, Brady is a pretty man. One Pride says, go 49ers. John says, what defenses have the Chiefs played? I can't even think of, like, elite defenses. I mean, how many elite defenses are there in the NFL? That's a question I want to give you. Bodo says, there will be a lot of San Francisco. There will be a lot of San Francisco fans there because it's no home field advantage for LA. That's a good point. Daniel says 49ers by 6. Sebastian says 20-17 Rams. 17-12 Niners, says Bodo. Wow. Atlanta fan says going with the Rams. I just don't think they lose 3 straight. Good point. I didn't even know they lost 2 straight. Lucas says Jared Goff can't handle pressure, though, and Kyle Shanahan can scheme up plays for the run. George Kittle always does good versus the Rams. Yeah, George Kittle will have a good game. I don't have any doubt about that. Nick Bosa looks like an absolute animal, too, by the way. Mitch, has Todd Gurley been the most disappointing player in fantasy? Mine, personally, is O.J. Howard. Like, literally been non-existent. Atlanta fan says 49ers D-line is damn good, and the interior line of the Rams is a huge weakness. Just can't see Rams dropping. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Broncos 20-15. Daniel says Titans by 3. Andy says at least everyone starts coming back when the schedule starts getting hard. I think Juice is a bigger loss than a lot of people, want to give it credit for in mainstream media, because that kind of takes away the flexibility of the formation usage that Shanahan can go about using, and he just uses him in so many different ways. I'm kind of intrigued to see, and I will definitely be watching that game to see how Shanahan adjusts without his big fullback there. Daniel says Dallas by 14. Sebastian says 35-14 Cowboys. Cowboys take it 27-13, says Stacy. I don't think Cowboys will cover, but they'll win 24-20, says Bodo. Jets 27-24 in the upset of the week, says Chris. What else we have here? Matty Ice, even with his problems, is still one of my favorite quarterbacks, says Jake. Chargers at home 35-14, says Stacy. Chris says Chargers by 10. Chargers 28-14. All right, let's get to these. Oh, Bodo wants to give his Steelers pick. Steelers is a huge mess. Defense is good, 24-21. Chargers with the last-second drive, but by Rivers to get the last field goal. They can't run against the Steelers' defense. Daniel says Lions by 7. Wow. Okay, Sebastian says Lions 30-27 over the Packers. One Pride says Lions. Green Bay's D is overrated. Bodo says 27-17. Packers win by 10. Chris says Lions 32. Green Bay 23. Stacy says Packers 31-24. Packers are the best team in the NFC, and Adams will probably play. So I'm taking Rodgers and the Pack 28-17. I think this game will certainly be within a field or within a touchdown. So I think any of you guys that are saying that the Packers or the Lions will win by more than a touchdown, I think is kind of crazy in my opinion. I think it will be a very close game. George says easily the game of the week, and it would be hard to not take the 5 points. The Lions only had 2 guys out of practice today, Snacks and Daniel. Snacks should be good, and we'll see. It's still early, though. Oh, Jake says he refuses to bet because Stafford, he doesn't know if Stafford will show up. Sutton or DK Metcalf for the flex position? I would probably go Metcalf. Chris says Tom Brady's wife's pretty. Damn, yeah, definitely. There's definitely a reason why he's conditioned. Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, I just want to throw this out there as I finish my picks, as I finish this video, as I wrap up. The only 2 quarterbacks that are undefeated in the NFL are Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo. I will finish with that note. Thank you guys for joining me tonight for my Week 6 picks. It's been a lot of fun, and I am hoping to get that Chiefs video out very soon because I have a lot to say about Kansas City. I think I have a lot of good points to make. Guys, Gronk spike the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you are new. And again, hit that notification bell. That's absolutely huge for me because it gets those viewers in quickly. It gets you guys quickly on the content, which can then spread to everyone else on YouTube, which can help us grow this channel. It's not just me that's a part of this channel. It's everybody that supports it. If you guys do your part in supporting my content, if you continue to enjoy my content, which I'm hoping you do, then we can really build something here on the Bottom Line View. Thank you guys for watching. It's been Mitch. We'll see you very soon. I'm not sure if I'm doing the live stream tomorrow. It depends kind of how I feel. But yeah, we'll see. I might have a couple people over. We might do the Giants game. I don't know. It might be a blowout, so I don't know if it's worth it. But anyways, guys, thanks. Peace out.